Welcome to the Air Power Airwaves, the Air Power Manufacturing Solutions podcast series where we talk about manufacturing issues that impact you. Hey, this is Travis coming to you from the Air Power Live Studios with another edition of the Air Power Airwaves podcast. Today, I am really happy I got this guy over here, Mr. Dave Hege. How you doing, Dave?
I'm good. How are you today?
Excellent. Interesting backstory. You and I got together. I guess we were at the last sales meeting,
Yep.
Air Power, and you and I were able to. We have a social hour after a big day of meetings, and you and I just ended up in the same area. Same area,
hour.
And we started talking, and it was like an hour long. I'm like, man, I got to get you into the podcast studio. So,
Yep.
It's been a few months, and we got it scheduled. So I'm glad to have you here and
Awesome.
kind of rehash that conversation that we had. So it's interesting. How many people are with Air Power? Roughly 125 something.
Yeah, something like that.
And you just don't realize when you share a lot of common things with somebody who you've just passed in hallways or, passed in, they're doing their world, you're in their world, your worlds
Right.
don't touch a lot, so you don't have that communication or the knowledge of each other. And then when you take that time sometimes to actually stop, start talking, have a conversation, it's amazing what can happen. And that was really what happened with you and me. It was a great night, and I think we're going to get into some of that conversation here. But, okay, so Dave Hege, last name Hege.
Yep.
And you are a North Carolina boy.
I am born and raised.
Born and raised North Carolina. You have the Queen's English.
Of course. Of course.
And you are the project manager for the project management team.
Correct.
You are the guy that makes sure that all projects are fluid here, with that things go from start to finish.
Correct.
As precisely as possible.
That is the plan. Yes.
All right. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Just things you like to do. What's your in general, who is Dave Hege?
Okay. So at work, I am project manager. I'm certified PMP. I've been with Air Power 7.5, almost 8 years. My background is automotive. I come from automotive mainly background. Outside of work, I spend most of my time either doing photography, motorcycles, or creating custom mirrors.
All right.
So
Custom mirrors.
yeah, I'll show you pictures.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
My
I do
mom-
etching.
My mom did a lot of the stained glass.
Okay.
You do a lot of that, like where you're cutting it into certain patterns, or is it?
I'm creating templates and then doing acid etching.
Okay. All right.
And right now, a lot of it's focused around we live at the lake, so it's either lake stuff or motorcycle stuff, specifically Harley Davidson.
Yeah, I will look forward to seeing that for sure.
All right.
Real quick, before we get deeper into this podcast, and when it's going to open wide open here in a second, I just want to give you a few things. One, if you want to find us on social media, if you want to find this in podcast land or in the YouTube world, go to anywhere that you're on social media and type in Air Power Manufacturing Solutions, and you will find us. So we're out there. Main website, airpower-usa.com, and you can get to Air Power Live, Air Power Airwaves podcast. You can get to anything you need there. And then for any questions you have, whether it be for Dave or myself, or questions about some of the things that we talk about, just call 1-800-334-1001. And so whether you're tuning into us in podcast land on audios, or if you're tuning into us through YouTube or our website through video, welcome, and here we go. All right, so your position as project manager, what was the exact title?
Project management professional, PMP certified.
PMP certified.
Yes.
That's what we were talking about. So, tell me a little bit about how the structure is with Air Power's project management team. How's that set up?
We have it set up now where we have myself, and then we have several coordinators, and Lori works in the northern region, Amanda's here in the south, and Alex is here as well. And we split it up by competencies. So Lori mainly does our TAS or our assemble competencies. Okay. Amanda does the AFT, or she does those, and then she also does some of the finishing, and then Alex takes care of the rest of the finishing, which is assemble and move.
Okay. So yeah, those that are watching us, our competencies have changed over time. Right. The way, so you'll hear somebody refer to something as tasks, or it might be, now it's assemble, or we have move or coat. And there's a lot about that on our website. I would invite you to go read the assemble, move, and coat story for our company, which takes us back to the beginning of this company in 1967.
Right.
You and I, just a note, you and I have been with Air Power, I think I've been here like a year longer.
Right.
I think just a year difference. So similar stories within Air Power. You start out in one job title, one specific job that you're going to do, and it just morphs over time and grows. But man, we have grown as a company. Matured so many different ways, within these processes. So with that came the growth of your team.
Right.
So that team, what before you came here, what was that like? What was the story prior to Dave Hege coming in and putting a little bit more of control on that?
It was really the engineering team was trying to do everything before I came here. So our engineering manager was trying to do all the project management, all the engineering, all the installation. He was trying to do it all.
That was Michael John.
That was correct. And
Michael, super smart, super competent, capable guy for sure.
Right. He laid the groundwork, and he made it easy for me to step in and take what he did and then apply my background to it. And when I started, it was myself and one other person. And from there, we've grown, and to where now it's myself. I work as a project manager, but I also work as a coordinator. So I still manage projects besides just managing people. So we have 3 coordinators right now, and then we also have 6 installers. So we've grown from 2 to a team of 9, and that is the start to finish of the project. We get it post-sale, and we take it all the way through to the end.
And so no longer is it everybody in High Point.
No.
You got people up north. At the Zenmar /
Correct.
Air Power Baltimore office, and then Orlando,
right?
With Christian being down there,
right?
So yeah, all right.
It's grown, and then we share. Brian takes care of the install team, and I take care of the coordinators. Brian Gaddy, our engineering director. But we all work together as one team.
Yep, it's great. Yeah. It's great. We're going to talk a little bit more about how those teams operate, for sure. So if you broke it down, and we talked about, we've talked about kind of defining who the group is, but what specifically does this team do? I've got a couple things written down that you and I talked about. I'll make sure we cover those. But when you look at it, what are the things that are super critical that your team accomplishes for Air Power and for our customers?
So we make sure we're post-sale, but we make sure that the billing is done, the components are ordered in a timely manner, that we have everything scheduled on a calendar, and we work with the customer to make sure it accommodates their timeline. And we try to hit their timelines, but with COVID, everything's been challenging for everyone.
That was nuts.
Yeah, so we're still recovering as far as timing on that, but we try to work with the customers, whether they have shutdowns or if they have a long weekend. So our team will go in and do whatever they need to do there. But the coordinators, they will take care of everything from making sure your order is shipped to your specific freight needs, to all of your billing is taken care of, all the way through to the end. and they'll work with the account managers and the specialists to make sure that the customer's getting what they purchased.
Yep. Well, not only that, but when you think about it, the impact is so great if things aren't put together.
Right.
Because you have, okay, let's say you're doing it in, let's say there's a, let's look at a finishing situation. Let's just kind of break it down a little bit. You got a finishing situation where somebody's ordered a booth and an oven. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's even say that they're batch. Okay, let's simplify it as much as possible.
Right.
They both booths, the booth and the oven, both have doors, and you have to have an install team that may not be an Air Power.
Right.
It may or may not be an Empower install team. You have to have them on site ready to go. Mm-hmm. You have to have the equipment there, or maybe you get the equipment there a little bit early. But you've got all these things that are critical. If you look at an oven, it's gas. You got to have everything ready to go there. You got to have the gas run. You have to have the electrical run. With the booth, you got to have proper air. You got to have the right air moving towards the booth. Or not the air, but the fan size mm-hmm. and the proper electricity to that booth. If one of those things is off, it kind of starts a snowball
right.
of chaos. And that chaos can lead up to high dollars if you've already rented equipment, yep. scissor lifts, or you've got an electrician on site. They're not cheap.
Yep.
Coming in for a 3-phase or a 2-phase, whatever. Talk about that a little bit. I mean, I'm sure you've seen some disasters over your time period. Yep. And what is the full impact? What can somebody experience? Name some dollar figures if you want to, just to show people how crazy.
We have, all right, so right now, currently in-house, we may have a booth system that is $25,000 all the way up to multi-million-dollar booth systems, and we manage them all. We take ownership of the contractors. We'll take ownership of the timing if the customer wants it.
Yep.
But if you buy a turnkey system from us, we will do everything from roof penetrations to the curb install. We will make sure that the electricians are there when they need to be, the mechanical contractors there. We will take care of the freight. We will take care of unloading the trucks, unboxing. The only thing we ask the customers to do is get rid of the trash, or the crates.
Yep.
But we will take care of even that if they require it or want us to. But we will do everything. We'll make sure everything's right. Our contractors will make sure the cement is correct for the booth to be installed on. We'll take care of all the timing. We'll take care of the startup of the system for them. We will, if there's paint equipment that goes with the booth afterwards, we will set that timing up with our internal team to where as the booth is done, so we don't impact operations, we can have our team going in doing the install for that paint system while as soon as the booth is ready. So we have a lot of coordination, if you will, with that, and we make sure that it's all the way up to startup and commissioning, and even after the sale, after we're done, if something goes wrong, we still support the product and the project, and we will work with the vendors and everything else if there is an issue, and yep. Bigger projects, you have opportunities, if you will, and we support those and we stick with those and make sure that the customer is satisfied 100%.
Perfect. And there are times where, it's no fault of our organization. There might be a hiccup, like mm-hmm. COVID taught us, right. Well, we've got all these parts for this particular gun, but we don't have the O-rings, or we don't have the tip, or we're still waiting for those, or some of those shipping issues that we had, where we had hundreds of containers, thousands upon tens of thousands of containers sitting off the West Coast,
right,
just on non-moving ships that were waiting to come into port. You got stuff hanging out there, so
right.
Your group, with your being proactive with that, I imagine can kind of stave off some of those issues, because you're looking at things way far in advance.
Right.
And trying to plan and prepare for those. So if you know that you need 5 components and you have 1, 2, and 3, but you need 4 and 5 just as much as you do 1, 2, and 3.
Right.
You know that we're not going to ship in 1, 2, and 3 to the customer until 4 and 5 are here.
Right.
Because we don't want to be spending an extra, whatever that is, $2,000 to $10,000 a day on expense costs
Right.
for contractors that are sitting there like this, waiting for product, for 4 and 5 to show up. Right.
That's correct.
I'm sure am I reading that right? That's a big part of project management?
Yes. We try to look at the lead times on all aspects. And of course, you look at your critical path and your critical components to see. Now, sometimes we can go back, if it's internal, we can go back. We mentioned Michael John a while ago. He is a great resource. We can go, Michael, this part, I won't say a name or a vendor, but we can't get this part. What do you recommend with your experience? Can we do differently? And Michael will either tell us, hey, we can use this, we can substitute this, and we can get this job done, or we got to wait. But we have those resources within Air Power.
Or he makes it.
That's exactly right. But we have so many resources here, that have 25, 30, 40 years of experience that we can rely on that. And we use that. We do. Our team goes back to those guys. In the tooling world, we've got Mike Justice with over 30 years experience. Yeah. And we will go to those guys and we will get their input immediately and say, hey, we got a long lead time on this. What do you recommend? And we use our resources. And then externally, we will go to our vendors and say, hey, you know what? You know where our customer's at. You know what we need. What can you do for us? And we've had some success with that as well.
Yep. It just seems that as we've grown as an organization in the past, the impact over the past few years.
Yes.
I think 2020, although it was horrible, it allowed us to slow down and look at processes, look at cost, look at expenditures, and try to focus in as an organization on what can we do to be better. And I certainly, I'm like a little tiny impact of my little world, right? But our management team, along with the owners of the company, looking at ways we could do things, it's benefited us all. But having departments like yours that impacts the salesperson, it impacts the customer greatly, in a positive. So, all right, let's talk about you a little bit and your team as far as requirements. Like, are there requirements, or you hear about training and certifications that people have for different jobs here? There's some people that have to go off for training. We certainly support that. We send people all over. In your world, specifically,
right,
are there any trainings and certifications that you and your team are involved with?
All right, so my background, as I mentioned earlier, is automotive. So I actually have Red X background. I am certified in Red X, which I got that while I was at General Motors.
Okay.
Green Belt Six Sigma. I actually got that in 2 different companies. I am, as I mentioned earlier, I believe, PMP or Project Management Certified as an internationally recognized accreditation, sort of like a CPA.
Okay.
And it is, I'm a member of PMI, and I have to maintain continuous education to keep up my my certification.
Like CC credits.
Right.
And we were talking about that when we were
right.
When we first kind of connected at the sales meeting. We were talking about that earlier. They take some of your professional experience, or projects that you work on here, some of the daily, things that you gain from work, right? But then you also do have to, take courses or stay up on. And are you like regularly reporting that?
I do. It's over a 3-year period, and it's called PDUs, or Professional Development Units, and you renew your certification every 3 years. So you have to have 60 professional development units over a 3-year period.
Okay.
And I can get up to 10 or 15 working with others. So as I'm training Amanda and Lori, I'm also earning professional development unit.
Gotcha.
And then it was on-site training. So like 2016 or 2017, I went to San Diego for a week-long seminar and covered my PDUs. And then 2019, I'm sorry, I went to Charlotte and spent a week there.
Okay.
Since COVID, it's more online self. So I do that. I try to schedule. I do it. I'm organized OCD, so even in my personal life, I do that. So I schedule it. I schedule so many seminars per month, and I do those at home. And
Okay.
I'm working on that. So I think I need like 19 more credits to renew in 2024.
So you're well ahead.
I try.
You're
Yeah, I
well
try
ahead
to
of
be it.
schedule. You
Yes.
kind of have to be. Not something you want to procrastinate.
No, because you cannot get it all at the last minute
Well, I
if you
guess
wait.
that's kind of like your whole world, though. You know,
Right. Planning.
it's all about planning. It's all about
Yep.
strategy early on. You know, taking the little morsels that you get early on and making sure you document everything that comes through,
Right.
so you know you have a plan.
Yes.
You don't. Your plan is to have everything documented. Period.
Right. We have
And
become
then to be able to analyze it.
right. Well, the other thing we do is we save everything for projects. So now we have became I guess a good term would be a library, to where specialists will reach out to us and say, "Hey, this project we did a couple years ago, can you get us the bill of material for that? Can you help us out with this?" And that way they can come back and look at what we've already done. And then we use that as a benchmark for lessons learned. Hey, what went well? We have all the notes for the project. What went well? What didn't go so well? And we use that as lessons learned and benchmarks.
Okay. In you saying that, it triggered something. You mentioned Red X and Lean Six.
Yep,
Something that we discussed was there were differences between those two.
absolutely.
There's like the I guess the approach with each one of
Yep.
those. Can you talk a little bit about the differences?
Sure. So what our goal was with Red X, and this has been was in sheet metal stamping at General Motors, is fix problems on the fly. You want to immediately assess the situation, maybe use 5 whys, but you want to come up with a solution. It may not be the right solution, but you want to immediately apply that solution and see what happens. Now, you still do data analysis and you do what's called best of the best or worst of the worst, and it's quality related. But in Six Sigma, you're spending 3 6 months gathering data, pulling everything together, analyzing it, doing Pareto charts, and putting everything together to analyze your data to see where you're at. And Red X, no, you may spend 30 minutes, 45 minutes to an hour pulling it together, maybe a week at the most, and you're trying to pull the trigger, and come up with a solution. Now you may have to backtrack with Red X, but you're trying to implement on the fly.
Yep. Red X might be like, we've got to make a decision. Let's make a decision.
Right.
And it might be the wrong decision, but you're going to find that out pretty quick.
Right.
And then you can you apply Red X again, and you make another decision.
Right.
Until you've got everything back on track.
Right. When we found if we could find that we could turn a defect on and off, we knew then that we had found the solution.
Okay.
And that was the
gotcha.
goal, to be able to maybe create some scrap, but we could turn a defect off and on in Red X quickly. Then we knew how we could solve it. It's the random issues that happen once every 500 pieces or 500 parts that bite you. And if you have it that random, it may get out to a customer. So that's why you want to be able to turn it on and off.
Gotcha. Okay. And okay, we covered that good.
Yeah.
Okay. We have a ton of customers with Air Power. What's the is there any interaction between our customers and the project management team?
Yes. We work through account managers as the first line because the account managers, but
Right.
we are also heavily involved. A lot of times account managers, they're busy like everyone. And if we can take care of an issue or a problem for a customer immediately, we will take care of it. We also interact with them with the billing and things like that. But we will try to, especially on the bigger boost systems, we will work on the schedules with the customers, or if we need to schedule installs, or if we need materials for runoffs, things like that. We do that all the
Okay.
time.
So yeah, that makes sense. Um, what about your relationship with other departments within Air Power? You know, we talked a little bit about engineering,
Hmm.
but we have a very proactive, very active senior management team.
Yep.
You know, we've got great engineering team, service teams. You know, you've got everybody. Then you've got account managers,
Right.
inside sales, branch managers, everything. Right? How much interaction do you guys have with? I mean, how many departments are in essence working together on one particular project?
I'll say this, and this is not a great answer, but it depends. But let's say we have a large project. We need more manpower than the people that we've already mentioned. I can go to Tyler Mabe, who's over service. I need support. He will provide me a field service technician, so I will work with the service department. Engineering, they help us with our blueprints, drawings. If we need layouts, we'll go to engineering team. They will help us, and we work with them very closely.
And I guess that all depends too. It might be
Yep,
a simple support, or it might be super complex.
right. And one of the things, I don't know if people realize this, but our project team, we also build what's called control panels, electrical and pneumatic, and that supports a lot of our projects. So our team does that. So we work very closely with the engineering team for design, testing, building, things like that.
Yep.
Shipping department, the unsung heroes of Air Power, really. We work very closely with Nick Bailey and his team. They're the ones that make sure what we do gets to where it needs to be from internal projects. So we work very closely with the shipping department, accounting, and the project team. They are so intertwined. It's almost like one department some days. And then, of course, senior management, they're a phone call away. Anytime
Yeah.
we need anything, whether it's from Dan, Kyle, Kevin, Brian, we can reach out to them at any time, and the support's there.
Yeah, even in my world, you know, I have my own niche within Air Power. They're always available for me too, and it's awesome. I have less interaction with some of the departments that you guys are involved with.
Right.
You know, you and engineering because it's not necessarily needed. But have I called people in those departments and needed some advice on something? Absolutely.
Yeah. And I guess I should mention, too, another department I did not mention before is purchasing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I guess I should say I saved them for last because they heavily influence ours, and they do a really good job of making sure that the stuff we need is ordered when we need it, and also they will help us to follow up on lead times.
Yep. And you know, just look at simple math, right?
Yep.
If you don't have a team like that within the purchasing side there's so much even verification of cost
Yep.
that goes on. You know, and it could be certain little components that nobody's thinking of that add up. You know,
Right.
a box of bolts.
Hmm.
If you're putting together a sheet metal project, whatever that is, you know, let's say the box of bolts, you know, $200. I'll just say it.
Yeah.
I'm just pulling it out of nowhere.
Right.
You know, at the end of the day, if that $200 isn't accounted for in cost, that $200 comes straight off of profit
Yep.
at the end. And everybody who's involved in that project is going to take that hit
Hmm.
right off of the profit of that job. So if it's something small like that, everybody's like, oh, you know, shame on us.
Yeah.
But if it's something big,
Right.
a big component, or something messes up and the shipping was off, and you don't have fans for the booth there yet,
Right.
and you've got a team there of electricians waiting for days, now your cost just
Yes.
starts to ratchet up,
Yep.
and then your profit, you know,
Yes.
you have to be very careful.
And without getting too deep into details, we look at that for every project.
Yep, it's important.
We absolutely do.
So, when is two more things that I want to cover here?
All right.
When is a project? When that we've talked about everything about when the projects come in,
Mm-hmm.
but when a project is done, is wrapping up, when do you consider it done?
All right, so we can complete the install, we can complete everything, but we don't actually close a project and consider it complete until the final paperwork is done and the final invoice is paid to our vendors and Air Power has received their final payment from the customer.
Okay.
That's when we consider a project closed. Doesn't mean we won't go back if we have anything we need to go back to look at. We can open a project back up if we need to.
Okay. Keeping in mind, we know the projects that you deal with in your team are so different. Like something so small, and then you have this monster project here.
Yep.
How many projects in a year, roughly, does your comes across your desk as a team? Because I know every one of them comes across your desk.
Right. I see every project. Not because I'm a control freak, but I am a control freak because I'm project manager.
Hey,
but
the buck stops there.
Yeah, but we usually average a minimum of around 300 projects a year, give or take. You mentioned COVID before, and while it was a terrible year, the project team was probably one of the few bright lights during that time to where we took a little hit, but not like other areas did. So we actually still had a full year and was busy, and we kept our team very wide open, very busy. As much as customers would allow us, we stayed that busy.
Very good. Dave, I've had a blast talking to you.
I always have a blast talking to you.
I know, man. It's cool. And in the previous years prior, you and I would just pass each other, be cordial, hello, hello. Yeah. But sometimes it just takes an event where you, all right, well, we're going to have a conversation.
Yeah, 2 minutes led to an hour.
2 minutes led to an hour, and I had an absolute blast. So it's good getting to know you. Thank you for being a part of our team. I know that everybody appreciates you around here. I'm going to close out. I'm going to say thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to close out a couple things here. Remember, 1-800-334-1001. Remember, in social media land, just go anywhere you want and look up Air Power Manufacturing Solutions. And the one website you should remember is airpower-usa.com, and that will get you everywhere you need to go. So from the Air Power Live Studios, I'm going to close out by saying what I always say: manufacture it a great day.
Thank you for joining the Air Power Airwaves podcast. Air Power Airwaves is a production of Air Power Inc. and Air Power Live Studios and is hosted by Travis Steyerwalt. For more information, please visit airpowerairwaves.com. For more information on all of our products, brands, and manufacturing solutions, please visit airpower-usa.com. If you have any questions or need product support, please contact Air Power at 1-800-334-1001.